Okay, we're back, and this is part 2 of the aluminum can cutting tutorial. Primarily, I'm showing you how I've made cans into flowers. And so what we're going to start with is you take your can, doesn't matter if it's dry or not, and right here, anywhere, I generally start at the line right here. It's a good baseline for me, but you can start anywhere. There's no rules. And I'm actually going to use my longer scissors for this, and I will cut all the way to the edge there. And depending on what style I want this flower to be, I decide the width. I'm going to go very thin on this one, and I'm going to cut all the way around and just give you an idea. And I won't cut the entire can. You don't have to watch the whole thing. But as you can see, when I peel it back, you're going to have a look like that for this particular can. And just be careful with your spacing. When you get to the point where you have about this much left when you're cutting a certain size, just kind of give or take a little bit with one to make them look as even as possible. Now here is one that I started right there, and I'm going to go a bit fatter with my cuts, just like so. And here's one that I've already cut, so you can see the final result. I hold it and just bend it back, just like this. And this is your base for the canned flowers that I make. And that's, you can kind of see one of the reasons you don't want to have a bunch of dented cans for sure. And so with this one, we'll set it aside, and I will show you in the next video how we spritz them up, how we tie off the edges, how we incorporate other layers of flowers into this size. So I'll set this aside. And here's just an example of a different shape. You can get creative. I kind of went on an angle, and you see how that's playing out. And the way you do that, set that down, get another can, is when you start, just go like to the side as such, and kind of finish it off straight at the end. Figure out your width that you want. Try and keep it uniform as much as you can. It's okay if there are some petals that are a little bit bigger than others, but as you can see, it creates that effect. Now I see a little shard right there. Get rid of that. But you get the general idea on how that's going to work. I can actually finish this one up and show you the final effect. And like I said, I'm getting down to a small part, and I want to make sure they're all about the same size. So kind of guess it. It's a little wider through here, so if you have to go thinner at the top just to make it all work, then that's what you do. Now this one, I can either leave it this size. This is one of the predicaments that I've gotten into many times. I can leave it this size. As you can see, it's going to be much bigger than the others. So I'd rather just cut that one in half and have just the slightly smaller 2 petals. So then pull them all back. Okay, so you've got your flower. Now, if there's some sizes of petals that are a little bit bigger and you think it's not right, not good, it's not hard to just take a couple fatter ones Make them look more uniform. See, just easy as that. This one too looks a little bit larger, so I will just fix that one up if I can get a grip on it. There we go. All right, so now you see they're all about the same size. Then I'll set that one down to dry. Now I have a larger can right here, and these are great if you want really big flowers. So I always start at the line. It's just a habit. And I'm gonna do straight edge on this one. Maybe a little bit bigger petals. I've gone through a lot of scissors too. I've also purchased many different scissor sharpeners, but ultimately I have found that cutting sandpaper is the absolute best way to sharpen your scissors. And it would have saved me a lot of money if I knew that before. But here we go. We've got the end right now. We want to make sure we can cut it as close as we can to them all being somewhat the same size. All right, I have one that's a little bit bigger, but I'll fix that. And then we pull them down. If you pull them at the base, it's a lot cleaner. All right, so there we've got our big base flower. Set that aside. When I do this, if I'm making an abundance of flowers, I generally try to clean and cut, I don't know, at least 40 or 50 at a time. And then sometimes I'll sit outside on the porch. It doesn't matter where you're cutting these, and you don't have to be at a sink. But I have found that sometimes there are those little shards that come off, and they can be a nuisance and painful. So then I set that one aside, and I just continue cutting as many as I can into different shapes. Another thing I do is for the base of the flower, I want it to be smaller. I don't want all these flower pieces to be exactly the same size, or you won't see. So I'll cut, say, this one just slightly smaller. And then I will do the petals. Forgive my shaking. I have arthritis and I still like to do my crafts, but sometimes it can be a nuisance. All right, so there we are. That worked out pretty perfectly. And we're bending them back. Now, just to show you an idea, that's the one we already cut. Now this one in the center, the smaller size does make the bigger one pop. I've done layers of 4 different sizes of flowers to make more grandiose canned flowers, but it doesn't matter. You can do small ones, you can do large ones, you can even take a can and just use the aluminum and draw a flower onto the back of it, cut it out. It can be a centerpiece. I know it'll all make sense when you see me put them together. But for this example, you want it to be flat as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this is a little way that I do that. And it can be on any surface. Maybe put a hold on it. I've made my own flower templates for the small flowers to go in the centerpiece out of cardboard over time. But it's not, there's no rules, so you can pretty much do it in any way you want. I've done sports flowers, and I've used this flat aluminum for, say, the M on a Michigan flower, the O on an Ohio State flower, etc. Or just accent. It's up to you. But I have these in abundance and ready to use whenever I decide what craft I'd like to do. And here's a smaller one. So then, let's just go back to this flower that we've got right here. I think I want a small center for it out of a can. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to take one of my cans, and I'm going to go even lower than I did on the last one. And I'll use this piece as extra flat stock. So that's the small center. And let's see, we'll go a little bit thinner than the flower it's sitting on top of. When I do more videos, I'll get more specific on how I've done sunflowers, creepy baby flowers, happy face flowers, specifics. But you'll get so many ideas as you're going along. And there's no rule. You can do any colors you choose. They're very popular with people I know at cemetery grave sites. People love to take them, the flowers. So, I'll show you on this one how it's going to be the small center. And this one, it's totally okay if you've got that one or two odd duck. No one will really critique it, hopefully. Okay, so now I've got all three of my flowers together, and that would make a really nice, attractive aluminum can flower with just these three pieces. So in the next video, I will show you how to make them look more like flowers.